Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Greg Olma with Key Performance Ideas, and I would like to welcome you to our webinar, Workforce Planning in Oracle's Enterprise Planning and Budgeting Cloud Service. Today's webinar will be presented by Henry Rosenberg. Henry Rosenberg is active in design, development, implementation, and administration of Hyperion Planning and the cloud applications EPBCS and PBCS. He is an Oracle Certified Specialist and is Dale Carnegie Customer Service Essential Certified. Henry, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Greg. On today's agenda, we are going to discuss and demonstrate the Workforce Planning module and its capabilities in Oracle's new Enterprise Planning and Budgeting Cloud Service, or EPBCS, for the purpose of managing your company's operational plan and meeting strategic initiatives with your workforce. I will also give background on EPBCS, what the Workforce Planning module is, and why many corporations have chosen to implement it. Lastly, I'll demonstrate the out-of-the-box functionality, options, and customization of the module based on your business needs. I know why you're here today. You want to get out of spreadsheet hell. You want to leave behind broken formulas, infinite tabs without order, and inconsistently built models among employees trying to reach the same number. Did you know that using workforce planning software solutions can assist you in boosting revenue and building a leaner staff? A report from Burson & Associates indicates that organizations that leverage workforce planning software solutions have 44% higher growth revenue and 26% higher revenue per employee. Workforce Planning is one of 5 new modules available for configuration on Oracle's EPBCS. Also included in the EPBCS package is Financial, Strategic Modeling, Capital, and Project modules. EPBCS's value is found out of the box with its best-in-practice planning, automatic upgrades, end-user ability, and powerful data analytics, while at the same time maintaining the flexibility to mold to your unique, ever-changing business. The Workforce Planning module is built to fit your enterprise's needs, as is and out of the box. Workforce allows your company to track personnel-related expenses at the employee level, job level, entity level, and some custom levels. Under compensation planning, you will see reports and dashboards analyzing key expenses related to your base salary, bonuses, merit rates, taxes, allowances, and any number of compensation types that your company offers. This includes out-of-the-box variance analysis and forecasting for your corporate finance and/or FP&A teams. Workforce costs can represent anywhere from 20% to over 60% of your company's operating budget, according to the Department of Labor Statistics. This module can assist your team keeping those costs under control and ensure that your budget is being allocated efficiently. Workforce also allows your HR team to see expense and headcount analytics dashboards based on your employee demographics. It can help your company pursue strategic initiatives by managing employees by skill and allocating them where they are needed. This is done through a dynamic hiring requisitions, new hires, transfers, and termination system under strategic workforce planning. The SWP component allows for your company to see exactly if it's functioning efficiently or exactly where changes need to be made. In addition to compensation and strategic workforce planning components, there are configurable planning components for non-compensation expenses, for example, travel and entertainment, training, and communications, by employee or job, and demographics analytics that are configured at the employee level. The Workforce module has optional functionality to select from during your configuration based on your company's needs, such as multiple scenario analysis, where you compare your actuals to your budget, maintain a rolling forecast, create what-if scenarios based on events, and analyze related variances. How will your expenses be managed? Select a level of granularity, at the employee level, job level, or a hybrid of both. For example, some companies manage base salary expenses by each specific employee and corporate bonuses at the job level. This would be a reason to use both employee and job level. To make your application as simple as possible, some companies choose to use job level average for each compensation related expense. In terms of expense planning, employee or job level expenses may be greater than just the employee's base salary. This is where you can enable additional earnings, benefits, taxes, and merit-based planning. Enabling these will allow you to add expenses at a more specific level, including but not limited to federal and state taxes, benefits such as healthcare, 401k matching, and auto allowance, and any additional earnings that are common expenses to your company. Those will later be configured to percentages of salary, flat amounts, and max amount limits. Headcount planning is concerned with analyzing expenses related to employee demographics such as age, gender, and education level. Strategic workforce planning tracks the skills of individual employees. This functionality also would show you when talent needs to be allocated to certain areas or departments in order to maintain your corporate strategy. Workforce management allows you to create new hire requisitions based on your company's needs. Once hired, the requisition can easily be moved into the record of existing employees, which is the data analyzed on the dashboards and forms. Terminations and transfers are also offered out of the box and use a similar process. By enabling these features, EPBCS will automatically create pre-built dimensionality, calculations, forms, dashboards, smart lists, and reports with workforce planning with little necessary maintenance. Here is an example of forms created when expense planning is activated. This form is part of the compensation planning dash. In this demonstration, I'll show you what workforce looks like 100% configured. For those of you unfamiliar with the Oracle Cloud Suite, this is what it looks like from the homepage. Some of you may be existing Hyperion users. You can see the dramatic changes in the interface. The cloud interface has taken on a look like the mobile devices we use with the application icons on the homepage. A more up-to-date look, but with the same updated, trusted Hyperion functionality. If you're currently a PBCS user, you should be familiar with this homepage. However, you should also notice the addition of 5 modules I mentioned earlier. These modules are pre-built and configurable to your company. Your company may have similar models built in PBCS, but do they work as efficiently as you'd like? Is there out-of-the-box dashboarding to hone in on the numbers the analyst should be looking at and your CFO really cares about? How long did it take for your consulting firm to build that from scratch? At the very least, you're here to get out of that spreadsheet hell. The benefits of using the workforce module versus traditional spreadsheet modeling will be clear after this demonstration, no matter your industry. Let's take a deeper dive into the workforce module. Under the workforce card, there are 5 components: compensation planning, other non-comp expenses, strategic workforce for forecasting arrival and departure trends, demographics of your workforce, and analysis with dashboards of important workforce KPIs. Each component contains configuration wizards, dashboarding, and ad hoc forms with data that supports the charts and graphs. The compensation planning component allows your finance teams to develop a plan based on compensation-related expenses for existing employees that are full-time, part-time, salaried, or hourly, hiring requisitions, employees that are leaving, ones that are on leave, and employees that are transferred. The summary dashboard is designed to capture key variances and trends used to analyze your actual current status of your workforce versus your plan. Compensation and headcount-related figures will be automatically calculated and reflected in the dashboards and reports in Workforce as the numbers are added and altered. Your plan can be created and analyzed at your company's preferred levels of granularity and duration of forecast. Upon entering actuals to the application, comp planning shows variance analysis against the plan at the top of the dashboard. The actual versus plan variances are large and hard to ignore, and they appear in red to denote negative variances. The tabs on the left side of the module act as a wizard to facilitate connecting compensation properties to individual employees to create data. That data is then aggregated and sliced into informative charts and graphs shown here. The dashboard is also interactive so that you can slice up data and select the point of view to see the performance indicators that are important to you. In this example, we're looking at the total planned compensation expenses and headcount data for Sales US department in FY17. Right now, this is all the data allocated to the US sales department that is not allocated to a project. However, if you are interested in this data for a specific project, for example, Project Diablo, select Project Diablo from the drop-down and you will see the same dashboard, just with the comp and headcount data allocated to Project Diablo. The same can be done if you would like to see data for a different department, scenario, year, version, currency, and all possible POV permutations. For example, actuals data from Sales Canada in 2018. Hyperion and PBCS users may be familiar with the drilling feature. Here you can see the total planned compensation for the Sales US team over the next 3 years, broken down into the type of compensation and displayed in a donut chart. By double-clicking into the chart, you drill into the next level of granularity. Now, instead of seeing the department as a whole, you have a visual of exactly whose expenses are taking up what portion of the budget. You are able to drill into any of the charts until the data is at its bottom level. Additionally, if you don't believe the donut chart is the right visual to portray the compensation data, the option to change the chart into a line, bar, pie, scatter, and so on is available, along with other design options such as the width percentage of the dashboard, appearing in 3D, having a background fill, or where the legend should be located relative to the chart. Another piece of Hyperion planning functionality is scenario planning. In addition to comparing your actuals to your budget, maintaining a rolling forecast, and analyzing variances, custom what-if scenario planning can be a useful tool in workforce-related decision-making. The effect of major unseasonal hirings, large layoffs, mergers and acquisitions, income taxes, major raises and bonuses, unplanned shortages, and other minor scenarios that can be analyzed to coordinate your short-term decisions to your long-term strategy. Under uncertain conditions and the rise in people moving from job to job, creating what-if analyses can increase foresight and agility for when those situations actually do occur. On the remainder of the tabs for compensation planning is where your department heads manage new and existing employees, transfers, and compensation. Here is where you add hiring requisitions for HR to approve, unapprove, close recs, and put them on hold. Charts for the new hire expenses trend and the expense summary for this year are included at the bottom. HR will make the decision whether to improve or not based on the information the department head has provided. Position, employee, start month, how many employees at the position, and total compensation. You can see here that adding a hiring requisition and improving that requisition is as simple as right-clicking on the to-be-hired position and filling out the proper information. By drilling into the compensation, the approver can see exactly how the department plans on compensating the employee prior to approval, broken down by compensation type. The existing employee tab is very similar to that of new hires. However, the features are different given that these are actual current employees. I want to highlight the changing employee status, the two types of employee transfers, and planning departures. I'm going to start by changing the status of our employee, Henry Rosenberg, so that he will be on a leave of absence for the month of January. Notice the current total compensation is $143,257. Select the department, current job, employee, year, month, status, and duration of this activity. Launch the change. You can see that employee Henry Rosenberg is no longer receiving a salary for January, and total compensation is now lowered to $137,848. Henry's compensation, or lack thereof, for January 17 is now reflected throughout Workforce. Planning departures works in a similar fashion. Select the employee, department, month, and year of departure, and whether the employee is departed or resigned, then launch. Since Henry Rosenberg elected to resign in January of 2018, I can now change the year from FY17 to FY18 in the point of view and see that Henry is no longer an employee of the Sales US department. And his compensation for Henry is not calculated past December of 2017. The last important employee movement action I would like to highlight that affects total compensation is transferring employees. There are two ways to transfer employees in the workforce module. The first being a one-step transfer. A reason why companies have chosen to use the one-step transfer is the process is done by an HR admin. Someone who is an admin that oversees both the department that the employee is being transferred from and to, and is allowed to see confidential compensation information for both departments. Here you simply select who's being transferred, when, and the department and job he or she is being transferred to and from. And then launch. In January of 2018, employee 0009's compensation will no longer be calculated in the Sales US department and will now be calculated in Sales Canada. The other option is a two-step transfer. The difference is that one department head transfers an employee out, where he or she puts the transfers in limbo for another department head to claim. The reason for having two different processes has to do with the ability of administrators and confidentiality reasons. A smaller company might have their HR oversee the whole application and have the ability to transfer employees between departments. Larger corporations typically separate department admins, meaning the Sales US admin does not have access to the Sales Canada department, that portion of the application. Choosing between transfer methods can be chosen by a case-by-case basis, as opposed to choosing them when activating the application. HR might be concerned that a department head is creating requisitions and then also approving them, making one-step transfers, avoiding any HR intervention. EPBCS has an audit feature that allows you to see the source, action, user, name, data, other details, property, old value, and new value related to the changes made in the application. The audit feature also captures any other changes the administrator might be concerned with, such as salary changes and transfers. Another useful feature of EPBCS is task lists. Task notifications are placed on the home page of your application to facilitate operational updates made by users. In this example, the application prompts the user, who is an HR admin, to manage approvals for hiring requisitions and set a due date. Tasks can be single or reoccurring, depending on the nature of the task. Instructions are optional but informative, and can avoid steps like emailing instructions separately. You're probably asking, where do these numbers come from? There are employee-specific details that are linked to each employee via a table using smart lists. Smart lists contain options that direct data when selected. A simple smart list example in Workforce is selecting gender of an employee, male or female. If male is selected from the smart list as a property of an employee, this employee's compensation and headcount data will be reflected under male totals in the demographic component. Workforce-related smart lists come out of the box with some available customization. There are also configurable compensation assumptions that are set by the user and connected to each employee at the job, employee, department, and more levels. We call these workforce assumptions. Let's take a look. The Employee Details tab gives specific compensation information and figures related to each employee. The top table is where you select employee-specific properties from Smart Lists. On the bottom table, you can see the employee salary, additional earnings, benefits, and tax-related outflow for every month of the year based on the assumptions I'm about to introduce. Salary grades is a very simple way to attach salaries to employees. If not all employees are contracted on an annual basis, you are able to create grades for employees who are paid hourly, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, annually, and semi-monthly. If you're paying your employees in a method outside of annual salary, you must set workforce assumptions so that hourly compensation, for example, can be calculated on a monthly, quarterly, and yearly basis. Maybe your sales team does not work the same hours as the employees in manufacturing. Don't forget that assumptions can differ between entities and other points of view. You may feel that salary grades are too structured and not flexible enough for how you compensate your employees. There are plenty of ways to make these salaries more fluid and specific to the employee. One of which is using the employee-specific merit percentage. If there are 2 analysts in Sales US and one negotiated salary that is 1% higher than the other analyst, it may not be worth creating another grade just for that one analyst. There would be too many grades to follow. Instead, add the 1% increase under the merit and employee details, and the increase will be automated and calculated. There are plenty of other ways to manipulate salaries to make sure the application fits your pay structure. So do not worry if the grade structure does not work for you. Using the grade structure, however, makes calculating salaries at the job level very simple. Here we have all of the positions from Sales US connected to a salary grade. Once you connect an employee in Sales US to a position, their base salary will be calculated. In terms of merit, does your company have a rigid structure of how merit is rewarded, or is it more on a personal employee level? If merit is rewarded on a personal level, the percentage is just entered under the Employee Details tab reflected in the compensation below. If your employee follows a more rigid structure of rewarding bonuses, EPBCS has a global ranking system that is connected to certain percentages based on the year. The ranking is selected from a drop-down smart list under Employee Details. Like salary grades in merit rankings, employees can be connected to additional earnings assumptions. For this example, Sales US's only additional earnings is corporate bonus. On top of that, all jobs receive the same percentage of their base salary as the corporate bonus option. Similarly, employees of the Sales US all receive the same rates for their medical and fringe benefits and 401k. Car allowance is an example of a benefit that is not global and assigned at the job level, only being offered to employees with certain position titles. These are rates that are set when configuring the workforce module and can be edited for updates. Additionally, the rate can be either a percentage or a flat number for the year. The norm for benefits in the U.S. may not be the same for the norm of Canada and other countries that you may maintain entities in. By selecting the Sales Canada from the point of view, you are able to create a completely separate list of benefit assumptions that will only appear to employees of the Canadian entity and won't affect those of the U.S. Entities. I set up taxes in a different way to highlight some of the options embedded in the application. FICA and FUTA are federal taxes, and all U.S. citizens are hit with the same percentage. SUTA, on the other hand, has a rate and a threshold that differ among states and not among jobs like salary does. Here is an example of a method we use for one company that has employees in the different states but who are under the same entity. This company is headquartered in Arizona, so the default SUTA rate for employees is the SUTA Arizona rate assumption. For the few employees that work outside of Arizona, for example, California, that are taxed at a different rate, they are tagged with the union code 001 to identify their tax calculation will be using the SUTA California rate instead. Same thing goes for union code 002 at Nevada. All the options and tiers can be calculated in one of 3 ways. The first being a simple table with one rate and one threshold. Since FUTA is the same universal rate and thresh for all employees, this is a good example. Below the rate table is the compensation expense schedule we saw in the Employee Details tab. In the FUTA row, you can see that the FUTA tax is calculated on a monthly basis at 6.2% of compensation, only until October when the total number for the year hits the established threshold of 7,000. Other table structure options include a rate table and a rate and threshold table. These are used when there are multiple options available. For the purpose of the demonstration, the benefit options, additional earnings, and categories of taxes are examples that I created. Your company might offer other benefits such as dental insurance, tuition reimbursements, and multiple tiers of corporate bonus. Workforce can be configured to your unique compensation structure out of the box. Other expenses is another component of workforce that tracks non-compensation expenses. In this tab, you have graphs that indicate how much money is being spent this year on non-comp expenses by job and category. Again, the graph type can be changed based on your preference, as well as the scenario version entity in the point of view. Here is where you enter expenses related to a single employee. You can track the monthly totals for expenses specific to Sarah Molinari. This page is specific to tracking Sarah's business trip expenses. The following tab is to track job-specific expenses. A reason for using the table as opposed to the employee-specific table could be for when all the analysts have to go to a certain training that is required for all employees with just that job title. Either way, totals will be aggregated to the other expenses dash based on the point of view. In the strategic workforce component, set headcount targets and attrition rate targets of existing employees based on their position. This component should supply visibility into future talent gaps and the ability to address these issues in order to avoid slowed productivity. The strategic workforce driver allows you to set goals on hiring year over year under a specific point of view. The rate table indicates the target percentage of the new hire headcount driver to be allocated to each position year over year. Additionally, HR will have visibility into analytics on the gender, age band, education level, and skill set of their company's workforce. The workforce demographics component aggregates the data into headcount performance indicators and expense-related performance indicators. Here you can gain insight into the demographic-related spending and trends and be proactive on reaching corporate goals. Demographic information is entered at the employee level using smart lists. The analysis dashboard contains additional variance, trend, and comparative charts for both headcount and workforce expenses. Regular versus contractor FTE, compensation monthly trend, and headcount by skill set are just a few examples of possible out-of-the-box analytics that could be seen on your analysis dashboard. Human capital is your competitive advantage. Losing track of your workforce could mean a decline in productivity and shareholder value. The workforce module not only provides analytics to identify possible declines in a timely manner, but gives your company the opportunity to max out on its workforce's potential and manage related expenses efficiently. Do so by leaving behind Excel models for the dynamic scenario and dashboard analytics and employee management systems in the workforce planning module of Oracle's Enterprise Planning and Budgeting Cloud service. And that concludes my presentation. Thanks everyone for your time and attention. Greg, I will turn the call back to you.
Thank you, Henry. And thank you all for joining us today for our webinar, Workforce Planning in Oracle's Enterprise Planning and Budgeting Cloud service. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. Henry's and my contact information are displayed on your screen. Thank you again, and have a great day.